Level 1. Air Traffic Basics Trainee. Before there was radar, there were arrows. Concrete arrows, poured into the ground across the American countryside in the 1920s. 10 miles apart, lit by rotating beacons at night, so a male pilot with nothing but a compass could look down and know which way home was. That was air traffic control, before anyone called it that. You start in Oklahoma City, a classroom, fluorescent light. 60 aircraft types you must know by heart. Climb speed, ground speed, a 3-letter code for each one. You say them out loud until they stop sounding like airplanes and start sounding like nothing at all. Before any of that, there was a test. Questions about mid-air collisions, not to scare you, but to see how your mind moves when there's no good answer. A screening built for a specific kind of person. Someone who gets uneasy when a single thing is out of place. If that unease doesn't already live in you, this job will not teach it to you. Historically, roughly a third of people who start here don't finish. Not because they're careless, because the test is designed to find out, on paper, whether you can make a life or death call in under 2 seconds, long before you've ever been trusted with one. There's a sound in the next room, a headset clicking on, a voice reciting 2 letters, calm, final, operating initials. That's how a controller claims a position, theirs, out loud, on the record. You haven't earned the right to say yours yet. Somewhere in your file already is a number, not your score, not your rank, a year. The year you will be required to leave, whether you want to or not. Nobody explains why yet. You're too busy memorizing tail numbers to ask. Nobody hands you a badge for finishing this state. You don't touch a real scope. You don't clear a single aircraft. What you get instead is permission to keep going into a system that has already decided how long it will let you stay. Passing this stage doesn't make you a controller. It just means you're allowed to start becoming one. Level 2. Developmental Controller. You have a facility now. A real one. A real scope, real aircraft, real weather. And a veteran sitting beside you, hand near the switch, ready to take it back the moment you hesitate. You don't run a position. You check one out. One at a time. A single sector. A single runway configuration, tested and signed off before you're allowed to touch the next. There are dozens of these checkouts ahead of you. Each one takes weeks. Some take months. All of them together take 2 to 3 years before anyone calls you fully certified. You watch. You listen. You say the readback a half-second late, and the veteran beside you corrects it before the pilot even notices. That correction is the whole job right now. Not doing the work, almost doing it under supervision until almost stops being the right word. At shift change, you hear it again. The ritual you couldn't do in level 1. A controller finishing a position states the traffic, the weather, the open items. The one relieving them repeats it back, then says their own initials into the room. A transfer of responsibility, spoken, not signed. You watch other people claim positions that are still, for now, out of your reach. 2 years. That's the minimum. Some never make it past this room. Level 3. CPC. At a low-complexity facility. The Certified Professional Controller. At a small facility, where the certification means less than you thought it would. The day finally comes. Every position at your facility checked out. Every signature collected. You sit down for your first shift with no one behind you. And for a few hours, it feels like the finish line. It isn't. Nationwide, the agency you work for is short close to 3,000 certified controllers against its own staffing targets. Your facility doesn't have 3,000 problems. It has one. not enough people, on your schedule, this week. So certified controllers, at facilities exactly like yours, work 6-day weeks that were never supposed to be permanent. The schedule doesn't ask if you're rested. It asks if you're certified. You are. That's the entire qualification for exhaustion now. You used to imagine certification as the reward. Now you understand it as the moment the system stops training you and starts simply using you. Certified doesn't mean safe. It just means the schedule can finally depend on you completely. Level 4. CPC, at a mid-complexity TRACON. The certified professional controller at a busier approach control. More airports feed into your airspace now, more departures climbing into more arrivals, all needing separation measured in seconds, not minutes. A single missed handoff here doesn't stay a small mistake. It becomes paperwork. It becomes a call to a supervisor. In the worst case, it becomes something the National Transportation Safety Board reads about you by name. Every relief briefing matters more here. You read the board, traffic count, weather, equipment status, anything left unresolved. The controller you're relieving watches you absorb it, waiting for the moment you're ready. Then you say it. Your operating initials, spoken into the room, the same words you first heard as a trainee, standing behind someone else's shoulder. It is, officially, the exact instant every aircraft in that airspace becomes your responsibility, instead of theirs. Nobody signs a form for this. Nobody needs to. The words are the signature. Say your initials. Now it's yours. Every plane, every mistake. Yours. Level 5. CPC, at an en-route center. The certified professional controller at an air route traffic control center. The airspace gets bigger here, hundreds of miles of it, high above the airports you'll never see from the ground. The building you work in was built to be forgettable, low, windowless, usually somewhere quiet, chosen for radar coverage, not for company. For 8 hours, you manage the sky over cities most passengers assume someone nearby is watching. Nobody nearby is watching. You are, from somewhere else entirely. There is no ramp to walk, no jet bridge, no passenger who will ever thank you, because no passenger will ever know your shift existed. The isolation isn't a side effect of the job. For controllers at this level, it is the job. Outside, on a clear day, some of the busiest sky in the world moves exactly where you tell it to. Inside, there's no clear day. There's only the scope and the hum of a building that could be anywhere. You will spend the best years of your career in a room no passenger will ever see. Level 6. CPC. At a Core 30 facility. The certified professional controller at the busiest facilities in the country. SoCal, New York, Chicago O'Hare. This is the ceiling of the pay scale for anyone still working live traffic. It is also, by most accounts from inside the workforce, the facility tier where fatigue and burnout are reported most often. The two numbers rise together. Nobody designed it that way on purpose. It's simply what happens when you put the highest traffic density in the country in front of the smallest margin for staffing. The scope here doesn't slow down. It doesn't wait for you to finish a thought before the next aircraft checks in. You work faster than you were trained to, because the traffic doesn't know what you were trained for. You get good at this. Genuinely, remarkably good, in a way that nobody outside a radar room will ever be able to measure or applaud. This is the ceiling for people who still touch a radar scope. Above this, no one works traffic anymore. They only manage the people who do. Level 7. Frontline Manager. You leave the scope. Not because you failed at it, because you were good enough at it that someone decided you should stop doing it and start scheduling the people who still do. In 2006, contract talks between the Controllers Union and the agency broke down completely. The agency didn't wait for an agreement. It imposed one, cutting starting pay for new hires by 30%, freezing pay for controllers already on the floor. You weren't in this chair yet. But the people who were remember exactly what that year felt like. And some of them are the ones training you now. Your job, today, is to build the schedule that keeps a chronically understaffed facility running, which means, some weeks, mandatory overtime. The FAA's own workforce plan would later describe the overtime levels reached between 2023 and 2025 as, in its words, far exceeding any reasonable use. You know that. You sign the schedule anyway. There isn't another one to sign. You spent 9 years hating this schedule. Now you're the one signing it. Level 8. Air Traffic Manager. The facility is yours now. Every controller, every position, every shift. Along with it comes something none of the levels below you had to carry alone. Your name. Attached to every operational error the National Transportation Safety Board decides to review, whether or not you were the one at a scope when it happened. You didn't clear the aircraft. You didn't miss the call. You built the schedule that put an exhausted, technically certified controller in that chair at 3 a.m, because the roster had no one else to put there. That's close enough, in this seat, to being the cause. Airlines want more departures per hour. Your own controllers want fewer hours per week. Both requests land on the same desk. Yours. There is no version of this job where you satisfy both. Only a version where you decide, shift by shift, which side absorbs the shortage today. You didn't make the error. You will still be the one explaining it. Level 9. Fast Service Area / Regional Administrator. You no longer run one facility. You run dozens of them. And you know, before any of them do, which ones will break first. The staffing report on your desk isn't abstract anymore. It has facility names, average overtime hours, retirement dates, and a shortfall running close to 3,000 certified controllers nationwide. You decide which understaffed tower gets the next handful of new graduates. Somewhere, that decision means a different tower waits another year. To understand why the shortfall exists, you have to understand where it started. In 1971, the FAA set a mandatory retirement age of 56 for controllers, built on a theory that mid-career burnout made older controllers a safety risk. In August of 1981, President Reagan fired 11,359 controllers who walked out on strike, banning them from federal service for life. The agency rebuilt its entire workforce almost overnight, hiring one enormous generation all at once. That generation is the one now aging out, together in the exact years you're living through. Here is the part almost nobody outside this office knows. In 2005, the FAA conducted its own internal study of operational errors and found no evidence that older controllers were any more likely to be involved in one. The agency's own research disproved the agency's own rule. The retirement age did not change. It is still 56 today. The proof it was wrong has existed since 2005. The rule is still here in 2026. Level 10. Chief Operating Officer, Air Traffic Organization. You run the entire system now. Every controller, every facility, every scope in the country answers, eventually, to you. When a near miss makes the news, you're the one called to testify. Not because you were in the room when it happened, but because the room, all of them, are yours. You know the numbers better than anyone. Nearly 3,000 certified controllers short of target. A hiring plan meant to add close to 9,000 more by 2028. 2,000 this year alone, more the year after, and the year after that. You also know the arithmetic underneath the plan. It takes 2 to 3 years to fully certify a single controller. No authority you hold can shorten that. Not a budget increase, not a congressional hearing, not a single order signed with your name on it. Somewhere in a classroom in Oklahoma City, right now, a trainee is reciting 60 aircraft codes, unaware that the man at the very top of this system is bound by the same clock they are. The years it takes to become trusted, and the year already written down somewhere, that trust will legally end. You hold more authority over American airspace than anyone alive. You still cannot make a single controller arrive faster than the system allows. On January 25, 2019, it wasn't the chief operating officer who ended a government shutdown. It was 10 people, in 2 states, who simply couldn't afford the gas to get to work. The trainee memorizing 60 codes in Oklahoma City and the man testifying before Congress are bound by the same fact. The sky does not care about your rank. It only asks whether the system beneath you was ever built to hold. Neither of you was ever free of it, only differently exposed. The cycle continues. You sit alone in a room with no windows, hundreds of miles from the nearest runway. 40 aircraft sit on your screen right now. Somewhere above you, hundreds of people trust a voice they will never see. Right now, the United States is short nearly 3,000 of you. The retirement rule, partly responsible for that shortage, the FAA's own research, proved wrong 20 years ago. Nobody changed it anyway. This is what it costs to become an air traffic controller. 10 ranks, 1 system. And a mistake nobody was ever allowed.